All right, welcome to the Rick Solom Show. I am Rick Solom. On the Zoom call, I should say, is Michael Zweifel. He's the new UW-La Crosse football coach. He was just named the 15th head coach in UWL history. Michael, that's kind of cool. There's not a ton of coaches, and you're the next man up on this football program that's got pretty storied history.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, like you said, a rich tradition, a rich history of our football program. Some coaches that are amongst some of the greatest in Division III football, really all of college football history. So, big shoes to fill, that's for sure. But I'm excited.
What's really cool too is even just as I've been doing the show, probably since probably like the last 7-8 years, I feel like the program's really bounced back in a way that it might not be great news for you, but the expectations now are pretty high. You've been to the playoffs 4 consecutive years, I think, which
Fine,
has
yeah.
never been done. 5 consecutive years, which has never been done before in Division III. I know that when back in the '90s when the UWL was winning national championships, it wasn't always D3, but the expectations are pretty high here. Well, the program was down for a little bit, but now it's back, and I feel like that's going to be hard on you, but also it's going to help you because you have this program that I think players are going to want to come to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think those standards expectations are exciting. That's what makes this job fun and rewarding. That you do have some pressure and some stress and anxiety to perform. I don't. I mean, that's what I want to be in. That's what kind of program I want to be in that has expectation standards to win and win at a high level. So I think it's exciting. I know our players are excited about it. Our staff is excited about it. So we're here to kind of continue to grow and expand this program to new heights.
Here's the other thing. Speaking of expectations, just outside of the football realm, we have a cross country team that won a national championship. Fall sports talking fall sports. But now in the winter season, I feel like I need to bring this up until the end of the week at least, and then we'll see where the chips fall with the basketball teams. But both basketball teams are in the Sweet 16. The men's and women's indoor track and field teams have sent maybe more athletes than in UWL history to the indoor national championships. The gymnastics team is defending a national title and I think they're in New York.
Yep.
Trying to win a back-to-back national titles. They're number 3 in the country, or maybe they might have jumped up to number 2 in the country now. And then both basketball teams are in the Sweet 16. Am I missing one? I feel like I'm missing one, but I think. Oh yeah, the wrestling. The coach I talked to literally yesterday, he's got 8 guys in nationals, and they're in Iowa, where we're spent some time as a coach and a player.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. That's the whole athletic department. I mean, really, here we're sitting here today. The Mitchell Hall, where kind of we're housed and athletics is housed, it's kind of dead today. Everyone's gone, spread across the country. The men's, I saw the basketball staff leave this morning. They're out to Virginia. Women's left last night. They had some flight issues with the kind of storms coming in, but they landed in New York City today. Like I said, gymnastics has some final prep today and tomorrow, and then they take off for New York. Wrestling's out. They're down in Iowa. Track and field's the men's are trying to defend their national championship, and the women's are have a heck of a team as well. They're down in, I believe it's Alabama. So yeah,
Birmingham,
everyone
yeah.
is out and about, and then it's spring break next week. So baseball, softball, they're leaving on their spring trips. So they're going to Florida, I believe both teams are. They'll take off probably this weekend for those trips as well. So yeah, the whole athletic department is spread thin across the country, but it's exciting times.
This would be a good time to maybe clean Mitchell Hall, I think. Maybe. The only
They're putting in new doors, so the front entrance to the Mitchell Hall is all under construction. It's funny, the men's basketball team was practicing yesterday. I was walking by, and they're like pounding concrete, and all this like concrete dust is filling up Mitchell Hall gym, and they're practicing there with ready to play a Sweet 16 game, and of course construction's going on, and the gym's got like dusty and cloudy. They open the doors and let some air in there. It's just like, yeah, Mitchell Hall is Mitchell Hall. It's a crazy place.
That's how we get some extra training. We put them through like just literally everything, including concrete dust.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to be resilient and be prepared for anything.
So Michael Zweifel, like I said, he's the new UWL football coach. He's going to get into his first season, and we could talk about. Part of me wants to talk a little bit about football. Maybe we should do that. But also, you have some like interesting sports sciencey history and education, and so I kind of want to get it with you about that. We could do glory days. I did glory days with Dave Malchek yesterday, the wrestling coach, and he's got like a pretty cool storied history in wrestling, yep. And you have a pretty cool storied history in football. You're only the all-time leading receivers or receptions leader, right, in all of football. So you have more catches in your career than anyone ever. and you played for Dubuque, and then you went on to try out for the Packers, and then you went on to play and win a European championship in a unique way, right? European championship with the Vienna Vikings. So we got to
Yes,
get into all that. Can we glory days a little bit? We got to embarrass you in
that's
that
fine.
way.
Let's give it a whirl.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll continue this with UWL football coach Michael Zweifel in a minute. All right, welcome back to the Rick Sullivan Show. Michael Zweifel, the UWL football coach, on with me. Do you want to just start? Do you want to get all the flattery out of the way here, Michael, and talk about like your football career, because it is pretty cool. You were the one. What's the equivalent of the Heisman Trophy in Division III football? I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. It starts with a G. What is it called? The Gagliardi. Okay, so is that like we can kind of see your office? Is it in there somewhere?
No, it's stuffed away at my house somewhere in the basement. I haven't seen it in a while. It's really a heavy trophy, but it's collecting dust somewhere at the house.
You should put it right in the middle of your desk. Like every time a football player walks in, and then they can see that, and they'll be like, "Wait, what? What is this?" And then you tell them, especially recruits, right? Put it wherever the recruits come in, right?
That might be a good recruiting pitch and tool. I might have to think about that.
I mean, I feel like, yeah, they'll be like, "Why is that thing?" And you'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is the Heisman, the D3 Heisman, and I have more catches than anyone in football history. You should come play here. You're going to be a good player." What's weird too, Michael, is you were defensive coordinator, right? For how long at UWL? You've been there for 4 years.
It's been there for 4 years. In the last, I was co-DC for my first two, and then the full DC the last two. So I transitioned from playing an offense to calling a defense, which was a lot of people do that, but it's been a fun transition. I've enjoyed it.
And I was going to, I came into this thing being like, why the heck is the guy that has more catches than anyone in football history the defensive coordinator? But then I looked at your history. So we got to talk about after your playing days, and where do you want to start? Like your playing days in college football, did we just decide we're going to throw to Zweifel every play? Is that we got to get him the ball? What made you so good as a receiver? It's weird to ask a guy why he was so awesome, but we're going to have to do it. You're going to have to tell us.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be able to play for 4 years, which helps, right? And not a lot of freshmen play, but I spent 2 years at UW River Falls. The biggest, you had good quarterbacks, right? As a receiver, you can't make a lot of catches unless you have good quarterbacks.
These guys aren't listening to this, Michael, so you don't have to, it was the team and the offensive line. You could just be like, I was awesome, man. Like, I was faster, I was quicker. Like, what was it about you that made you, so good?
Yeah, and then honestly, that's what's helped me transition to defense. Was I love the game of football, just studying it. I was not fast. I'll tell you that. I was not a fast. I was quick. We talk about basketball. Like I love basketball, and so I was like a point guard, just like good, like shiftiness, good twitch, quick in a small box, but not fast. And then you just build trust. You throw the ball your way, you got to make the catch. I mean, it's the biggest thing. But I loved to study the game of football. Football back then was a lot simpler than it is now, like schematically, and so a lot of times the coverages were pretty vanilla, and I just knew how to find those open spaces and zones, and then be able to create space and man to man. So it was kind of a recipe of the times. The football was not quite as, like I said, as advanced as it is now schematically. So coverages were a lot more simple. In today's game, I would never have all those catches because today's game is a lot more complex and complicated defenses, and so it was a benefit of the time for sure.
Were you a psycho about route running and needing to have perfect? Like, were you the Jerry Rice where you had to have perfect routes, stuff like that?
I bet you my teammates would tell you I was pretty psycho about that. Like, there's an art to it, and I love that. That's what I loved about football. Is like everyone thinks it's just the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. Run your head into guys, but like there's an art to it and there's a science to it, and so I love that. I love the craft. And receivers just like creating space and finding space. That's what it is. And so I guess you could say I was a little bit of a psycho when it came to route running and the details and all that kind of stuff.
So when you're in the cafeteria at River Falls or Dubuque, are you, running routes, like getting by tables and getting by people in line, and you're just like there's Zweifel again. You can see he's working on his routes even in the cafeteria.
I think everyone kind of does that a little bit. Yeah, you walk through a doorway as a receiver and you do a release on the doorway. Yeah, absolutely. I was doing that at the house, at the apartment, and whatnot. So I think everybody does that. O lineman, they'll set on air, and D lineman will work on a pass rush move. So yeah, I always see for sure like walking through a doorway, working on a release move.
So Zweifel led the nation at Dubuque, right? Like 1,915 yards and 140 catches. This is back in 2011. How did you guys do that season? I guess I didn't write it down. So
we went a great year. We won the conference down there. That was at the time was the IAC, the Iowa Conference. We won the league for the first time in 30 years, and so we made the playoffs that year. Kind of like what we're running to in La Crosse. We lost to North Central in the playoffs, so I got a long, deep history with the North Central beat my ass in the playoffs.
Oh, so the same team that beat you guys in the playoffs, like
This
what?
year, yep, in 23 and 21, yeah.
Yeah, three. Oh, so you went to the playoffs as UWL. You went to the playoffs the last 5 years, and North Central, which is the team that I think they either won or took second every one of those times.
Yes,
They
you're
have
correct.
beaten you 3 times, and
Yeah,
they also beat you that season when you had the
they did.
most.
Yeah, as a player, they beat me too.
Get out of the conference. Maybe go to the West Coast or something. So, I guess
Yeah,
you'd run
maybe
into them in
nice.
the
Yeah,
playoffs anyway. You can't run away from these guys. You're going to have to beat them at some
yep,
point.
we will have to eventually.
But then you graduate from Dubuque, right? And we got to get into this too, right? Like your dad was the coach. No wonder you had the most catches ever.
I
Your
know,
dad was the
Super Bowl every
coach.
time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so my dad's a longtime college football coach. Yeah, I transferred to Dubuque my last 2 years and to play for him. Yeah,
Yeah. So I mean, how many times have you heard that joke? Like, no, yeah, you won the
lots, a
Heisman
lot.
Trophy at D3 because your dad was a coach, right?
I've
But your
heard that
dad.
one a lot. Yep.
Yeah, how much of the like well, okay, you see your dad's written like 6 books about football. He's got these I think he has 29 videos about the
Yeah.
offensive schemes in football or something. I didn't read or watch any of those, but you maybe did you read all your dad's books and videos? See all
I've
these
read
videos?
and watched a couple of those. Not all. I'm not going to lie. Not even close to all 35 combined, but maybe a small handful of 3 to 5. Yeah,
Wait, does your dad know you didn't watch them all?
I'm sure he does.
Okay, because otherwise maybe he'll know this. Now he might be offended. Like, yeah, you didn't even watch all my. Like, maybe you need to get by North
I
Central.
know.
Maybe
Maybe he won't be shy to tell me either.
yeah, I was just gonna say, like, what's that dynamic like? As you played for your dad, but then your dad's this Hall of Fame coach, and now you're a coach, and that makes total sense. But does when your dad is the coach and you're playing for him, there's the thing is always that the parents are always a little bit harder on the kid. But now in a coaching, I've never thought about it in a coaching aspect. Like, what's your dad like as a coach to a coach? You know what I mean? Like, is he giving you advice all the time, or does he step back and let you do your thing?
Unless I ask for it, he kind of stays out of it and just supports and whatnot. Like I say, he was coaching until 2 years ago, so really he was still had his own team. He was still at Dubuque until 2023. So it's really been the last 2 years that he retired, but doesn't really go out of his way to try to input and like that unless I ask. But he's kind of an old school, pretty hard nosed coach. Yeah, it's good. It's just good to have him as a sounding board. He tells me that if we don't win a national championship every year, it's been a failure. So we grew up in Whitewater, and he's like, La Crosse has everything. You guys are the best city, the best school, and so he's like, you guys should win the national championship every year. So he's got those type of like, oh, so it's kind of funny to talk to him.
I feel like UW-La Crosse does have the best city because if you sit on the bleachers at UW, there's got to be. I don't know. Have you ever played somewhere else where the bleacher view is better than? Because fall in La Crosse, looking at Grandad Bluff, all the fall colors, right? There's nothing better than that.
I don't think there's anywhere to beat in the Midwest. I am a sucker for mountains, so there's some schools like in Utah or Colorado that have some mountain backdrop that I think is beautiful. But yeah, there's nothing that beats a fall day at Roger Herron Stadium in La Crosse. There's certainly nothing.
All right, so we're going to have to continue this after the break. But when you graduated from Dubuque, and as you know, like your dad's the coach there, and you lose to North Central in the playoffs. I don't know why I'm poking the bear there. Did you get a tryout right away with the Packers?
Yeah, the following summer, yes. So the Packers the following year, in 2012 would have been. I had an opportunity to go to the Packers rookie mini camp.
And what was that like? Did they go, oh, this guy is super slow, we don't need him?
I mean, essentially,
I'm
that's
just
kind of
kidding.
what they did. Yeah. Unfortunately, I tested well enough for them to take a chance, but that was back at the heyday of the Green Bay Packers. I think they won the Super Bowl in 2010, but they were stocked and loaded. Receiving room, I kind of knew the writing was on the wall, but it was really cool to see how that organization operated, and just to have that opportunity and that chance was really cool.
Michael Zweifel is the new UW-La Crosse football coach. All right, I want to continue this. Actually, I got more Packer questions for you, but then after you went for the Packers, you went to the European League, and then you played for the Vienna Vikings, right? And so we got to get into that because when you talk about like you tried out for the Packers as a receiver, right? Okay, so then you go to Vienna and you play both ways. So we got to get into that, and then also maybe we will talk some UWL football, but we got to take a break. We'll be back in a minute. All right, welcome back, Michael Zweifel, the new UW-La Crosse football coach. We're doing back-to-back UWL coaches. I felt a little weird about that because I had Dave Malchek on yesterday, but the conversations are so fun with you guys. Maybe because sports is right up my alley and this is my wheelhouse. But we just got done. We briefly hit on your your tryout. So you graduate from Dubuque. You're as a senior. Did you come off you led the NCAA Division III, right, in receptions and yards that year, and
Yes,
you go from that. You go to a Packers tryout. Like, what is that like? And who's on the team? Like, is there other guys at the tryout? And you're like, wow, I was trying out with this guy and that guy.
yeah. There's everyone. All their draft picks are in. All of their guys that they pick up through the draft that year, and any kind of rookies are there. And then vets are there as well because they actually are there training and they have practice like the week after us. So majority of the guys that you can think of back at that time in 2012 were at the facility.
Can you name drop? Do you remember?
Who's that? Like the rookies and stuff?
Well, any big names that you're
Yeah,
trying
Rodgers
out
was there.
against these guys. Yep.
Jordy Nelson, James Jones. That was the receiving room. Donald Driver, I believe at the time, was at Dancing with the Stars, so he wasn't there. But that receiving room was loaded up. Randall Cobb was coming off his rookie year, so he was there. I'm trying to think who else was all there. But yeah,
I mean that's perfect. I mean that's a tough team to go try. I mean the Packers probably did you no favors by asking you to try out. Maybe you should have went to the Vikings or somewhere else.
I'm a Bears fan, so I was hoping that the Bears would ask me to come in, but they didn't because at that time the Bears were in much rougher shape than the Packers.
Yeah, I feel like could you call them up and be like, hey, can I come try out for you guys? I don't know how that works.
The NFL unfortunately does not work that way. No, that's kind of
No.
you don't get to do that.
And maybe I don't. Are you from Wisconsin originally?
Yes, that's kind of where I grew up. Yep, in Whitewater. So obviously Whitewater's only about an hour and a half from Chicago. But I grew up Cubs and Bears fan. That's what I am.
Okay, well maybe the Packers figured that out, and then we're like, oh geez.
Yeah, I think they probably saw something and said, nope, we can't do this.
So after the Packers tryout, you go on. Did you right away go on to the Vienna Vikings and European
Well,
football?
actually, I coached. So that like the Packer thing was like in the summer, right, of 2012, and then everything's going on. When you don't make that, like all the football leagues are kind of rocking and rolling. So I actually coached at the University of Dubuque that fall. And then, like in 2013, that like in January-ish, February is when I took off for Vienna, and I spent like the next 9 months or a full season over there until about August.
And do they reach out to you and say, hey,
Yes,
we'd like
they reach out. They reach out.
And was it a tryout? Was it hard to make that team?
No, that's essentially they do all their like it's like recruiting like for a college in some ways. Now each team over there, like you only get a certain, they call us imports, like American they call us imports, so they only get a certain amount of imports. Like only every team's like allowed 3. So they recruit and they find people that they need at certain positions so they recruited me, and I had like a gap year. I graduated, I was going to start coaching again and my master's in the fall. So I had like January to like September kind of somewhat of a gap year, so I just say, let's go over there. They pay okay. You get to play ball. You get to travel around Europe. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with this with basketball, right? Like you only get 2 Americans on your basketball team or something like that. So they get you, and then what they do, they get you, and they're like, well, you're a great receiver, but also we're going to make you play D-back because we only get a couple of you Americans to play football. So we're just going to make you play. Did you literally play like you probably play D-back, and then you're probably on the kick and the punt team, right? Probably all that stuff.
Not all of it, but yeah, there's injuries happen, so I had to go pop over to defense. But I was always been a holder, so I held for the kicking off team. But that's all the special teams I did. I think I returned punts too. That's about it. But yeah, I played a little defense in college, so they knew if we need a defensive back. I'm like, all right, we'll play. Like I only played like 2 games of defensive back. It wasn't like the whole season.
Oh, okay, but it is kind of funny. You played D-back, you played receiver. You just said were you the field goal holder or just the kickoff?
Field goal holder, field goal PAT.
You're the field goal holder, and then you were the punt returner. So I was kind of right. You were kind of the only thing you didn't do was literally punt, I suppose.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right, so Vienna Vikings, and then you won the championship. And then did you lead the league in like receiving too?
I don't know what the stats were at that time. I have no clue. I might have not. I have no clue.
Okay, and then you lived in Austria. What was that like?
It was awesome. Vienna, Vienna was a beautiful city with so much history. It's kind of a unique spot of Europe where you're kind of close to the eastern side. So I actually spent a lot of time going east to some places out there, which was unique, and you can kind of see some of the Soviet bloc. It wasn't that long ago at that time, only like 25, 30 years when that kind of relinquished its power. So you could still see some of the effects from that, which was really unique part of that history. So I enjoyed it. And then we got to travel. We traveled to Germany, to Switzerland. Where else did we go to? Poland and stuff like that. So it was just, you got to travel around a lot of Europe, which was great. So it was a great experience.
We were talking before. You like the kind of the mountainous football look. I have no idea. Vienna Vikings, the stadium there a little bit more scenic
No,
than
that
UWL?
we're too far east. But teams in our league, if you go western Austria, you get into sort of
Yeah.
the Alps. Yeah, there's in Innsbruck. Innsbruck, they've held some Winter Olympics there, but we played in a soccer stadium, so like 20,000 people, and that was the other really good team in Europe. But they had some white caps looking over the mountains. Probably the coolest stadium that I've seen. It's a really unique stadium.
We're speaking with Michael Zweifel. He's the new UWL football coach. We'll get into some UWL football coaching in a bit here. So you're talking about like you went to play for Vienna, but you're also trying to get are you Dr. Michael Zweifel or just
No,
master's?
no, not a chance. Just the Masters.
You have I just want to say like it's more sports sciencey, right? Like this is the thing you studied in terms of, like beyond football, this is what I want to focus on.
That time, my younger self, I really like the exercise science, the sports science aspect of things, and obviously that ties into how you prepare and practice and train for whatever sport it is. And so that was, I got my master's in kinesiology, which it's the same thing, exercise science. That was just I really enjoyed the process of how people improve, how you train, how you practice, all that kind of stuff, and that obviously ties into coaching.
Now, are you a little bit odd in that way? Do you do some stuff as a the head coach or as a coordinator with UWL and your coaching past? Do you do stuff a little bit differently in terms of because you've studied this stuff and it's not just go put on 6 plates on the bench press and see how many times you could do it?
Yeah, I think I definitely compared to like a traditional or classic football coach, the lens that I view the game at and how we practice and how we train is definitely I think is going to be different than a traditional football coach for sure.
Yeah, is this what makes Michael Zweifel different? Is how he's going to prepare his team to get ready for football games, because you're going to have them doing like skips around the gym instead of something in the weight room more traditional?
I hope so, and I hope it shows up on the field. But how we do a lot of things from our practice to our training week, to preparation. I hope it is going to be different than what we've done in the past and what most teams probably do. And I hope that's the whole goal, right? Is for it to kind of make a difference on Saturdays.
Have you incorporated any of that as the you've been with UWL for 4 years? Have you gotten the head coach to buy in, or now that you're the head coach, do you get to implement some kind of like workout training system that's going to be way different than what maybe the players have been used to?
Yeah, as an assistant coach, you got to get to do it with your position group, right? So really, just the D-backs in the past, like how we would do individual periods and somewhat practice. But now that I'm the head coach, I get to. It's not going to be like a sudden change. Obviously, you have to like onboard guys and educate coaches and players, and you don't want them to do a full 180. So, but yeah, there's going to be changes for sure about some of the things that we do and how we do it and how we approach it for sure.
Is there a cool way to talk about that, like what that looks like, as opposed to what traditional teams do to work out and get better? You always talk about like we're gonna have practice and then we're gonna go hit the weight room. What does a Michael Zweifel team look like in 3-4 years when the coaches are all up to speed and the players aren't? It's not such shock. And here we go. This is what a workout and a practice and all that looks like. Is there a cool way to describe that?
A cool way, but practice for sure is going to be like if you ever watch like a football practice, traditional stuff like it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't think affects or improves performance on game day, like going over bags and some other weird drills that I kind of have classically gone through the times. Like I'm going to try to really challenge coaches and players to think outside of that and not some of the things that they've probably been doing for their whole lives. So just how we structure practice and make sure that we're practicing things that are actually making our players better at football, and that kind of transitions and carries over to the weight room, right? And where, classically in the weight room, like you're trying to improve your weightlifting numbers, and that doesn't make you a better football player. So everything we do in the weight room needs to be making us a better player. If it doesn't, then we're going to get rid of it. So we're not going to waste time on things that don't make us better on game days on Saturdays or make us better football players. And really being like with a fine-tuned coach going through our program and eliminating everything that's not really moving the needle forward. If it's just stuff that we've done because we've always done it, or it's just stuff that other people do because we've seen it on whatever YouTube, if it doesn't move the needle forward, we're not going to waste our time on it. So we're going to be really more efficient. We're not going to practice quite as long. We're not going to do some certain classic practice periods that everyone does. We're going to have just some differences in how we do those things to be efficient and make sure that everything we're doing actually makes our guys better at football and not just do it for the sake of doing it.
Is that going to drive your dad crazy, or did you kind of sell your dad on some of this?
It'll drive him crazy. So he will be like, this builds mental toughness. I'm like, I don't believe in that crap. So yeah, there'll be some things where we'll have disagreements for sure. Yeah,
and for those who weren't listening, Michael's dad, Stan Zweifel, is a a Hall of Fame coach. He coached at Whitewater and at Dubuque, right? And he's got like these books about offensive strategy and stuff like that. So, all right, we're gonna take one more break. We're gonna wrap up with the new UWL football coach, Michael Zweifel, in a minute. All right, welcome back to the Rick Sullivan Show. Michael Zweifel is the new UWL football coach. And we were just we'll get into the UWL football aspect. We're kind of like baby stepping the way into UWL football. We're trying to get to know him a little bit, and riz him up here a little bit because he's a former Are you a Hall of Fame college football player? I feel like if you lead
UD's Hall of Fame, University of Dubuque's their athletic Hall of Fame. That's it. That's the only one I'm a part of.
I feel like if you have more receptions than any player in college football history, no matter what division, you should probably get into the Hall of Fame somehow. If it was basketball, you'd be in because they let everyone in.
I'm not real familiar with the process, but maybe one day. I don't know. Well, maybe I'll get a call one of these days.
So we were kind of talking about your sports science-y, and you're going to have a different philosophy, and well, not even philosophy. You have a different philosophy, and you're going to implement this in a way that gets your football team ready. When you were kind of describing this before the break, so I play a lot of volleyball, and to get ready to play a volleyball match, right? This is a kind of a silly comparison, but we pepper, right? Like we bump the ball, set the ball, and then someone spikes it, and you just do that for 5 minutes, and then you're warmed up and ready. And I might do that for a minute, but I go off to the side and do like dynamic movement and stuff like that. You're probably that's probably the most basic way that I can understand how you might change how football players, but that's kind of what everyone is doing. So are you going to go above and beyond this, or how are you going to get your team prepared differently?
But it's going to be,
I will say the other thing too. When I first emailed you, I made the joke that are you going to be you're going to have your football team doing like the Herschel Walker workout. So Herschel Walker, he might be in the Hall of Fame, but one of the best running backs of all time. One of the worst Senate candidates of all time, too. But Herschel Walker was like a 1,500 push-ups, 1,500 sit-ups. And then you email me back and you go, actually, the complete opposite of that. So what's the opposite of 1,500 push-ups and sit-ups a day?
Yeah, it's just maximizing our guys' time. So doing things that, again, push-ups and sit-ups, awesome for building some musculature in your pecs and your abs, but for making you a better football player, probably not so much. So a lot of stuff that we're going to do is going to be you're going to go against somebody else, because that's what football is. Football is like we talk about chaotic, right? We talk about chaos training, right? So it's chaotic. It's different from game to game. We need our athletes to be adaptable. And so typically what they try to do is make everything sterile. They want practice to be, we know what's going to happen. We want our guys to, this is exactly how it's going to play out on Saturdays, and what happens inevitably is that's not how it works. And so I want our guys to be able to thrive in the unknown. And so that's kind of how we're going to do things, whether it be in the weight room or in practice. We're not going to hold our guys' hands through those times and events and moments. We want them to be adaptable and really feel comfortable being uncomfortable.
Are you going to implement different ways to just work on skills? You're a basketball guy, though, so you're going to have your football team playing a lot of basketball, something like that? When I played lacrosse in college,
I encourage our guys all the time, go play intramurals, man. There's nothing better for skill guys, receivers, DBs, than go play one-on-one basketball, go play intramurals for sure. But you think about basketball, it would be some things like the three-man weave, right? That would be classic basketball. Right? Yeah. Three-man weave, everyone does that, but that does not make you a better basketball player in any sense of in basketball, right? And so it'll be moving away from some of those classic things that every basketball coach has probably done, three-man weave, layup lines, whatever those pass, catch, and shoot, but to actually playing the game of basketball and doing some more small-sided games would be 3-on-3, 2-on-2, live type periods, getting rid of those. Hey, I know where I'm going to pass the ball. I pass it. I foul. Three-man weave doesn't make anybody better at basketball. It's just like a warm-up, right? And so that's a football day. We're not going to do crap like that. And there's drills in football that are the same thing that are just passed down through time, and we're not going to that's stuff we're going to get away from.
Yeah, when I played basketball, I wasn't very good in high school. I was okay, but I got to college and I probably played 4 hours of basketball a day. And by junior year, I was really good at basketball, and I went out for the team at Stevens Point. And I didn't make the team because I was a junior, but I was just as good. And I was like, wow, this is what I did the last 2 years just playing basketball was so much better than all of the practices that I've ever had. So in my head, this is kind of this, I don't know how you're going to implement it's harder to just play pickup football though, and maybe that's not how you would make your guys better at football, but that's how you just get better is just by playing.
You don't have in football, you don't have to play 11-11. You can scale the game down and break it into some component parts, but you're still playing football. It's not watered down, sterile. Hey, like again, drills that aren't involving decision making and being adaptable. Like so that like it's we don't have to go 11-11, but we need to play the game of football and the elements, the key elements of decision making and the things in space and going against an opponent. Those things always have to be present.
Michael Zweifel is the new UWL football coach, just getting into the job. I think you're a couple weeks in here. UW River Falls won the national championship, a team that obviously you guys play every year. They had the best player. The quarterback was the best player in the league last year. You guys got the taste of him. What sucks is when you played River Falls, I think at least two of your quarterbacks were injured last year, so I don't think it was a fair representation. But River Falls won the championship on like a buzzer beater, so to speak, like a long touchdown catch and run to win the game. Like as a former college football receiver, you must have loved that. And maybe I guess I don't know if you would hate that River Falls won the championship, but you obviously wish you would have been there.
Yeah, that was the semifinal game where they beat Johns Hopkins to like a 3rd and like 6. They threw a whole shot in cover 2 and went for like a 75-yard
Right.
touchdown.
It was to get to the national championship.
Yeah,
That's
to
right.
get to the national championship at 3rd place. Yeah, it's great for the league, right? I always wish it was us that were playing that game, but it's really good for the league. Put some things into perspective. They had a really good team. They had a really good team, and obviously a generational player at quarterback. But it was exciting for the league to have a deep run like that and to win a national championship.
And like UWL, their coach left for, their coach went to a D1 school, Drake. Our coach here at UWL went to a Michigan school. I can't think of D2 school.
Michigan.
So we lose the coaches here, but you got to be. Are you a little bit happy? Oh, River Falls lost their coach, so that's got to be good for you, right? And River Falls is probably going. Their new coach is probably going. Oh, UWL. So it's going to be a battle of these rookie coaches and who can do the other.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, as you win and you have success, there's opportunities to move up and move on. And so, it will be interesting to see how everyone looks in the league. And there's been a lot of movement around our league, actually, whether it be just from head coaches, obviously the one here and at River Falls, but also some of the coordinator positions have moved on and shuffled around a little bit in the league as well. So it's been an interesting year.
It's got me thinking, like, it's such a unique dynamic in college football because in the NFL, your coaches only leave when they suck, right? Or if they got, maybe another team would offer them a ton of money. I think there's, like, once in a while, a draft pick. They'll, like, trade a coach, but it rarely happens. But in the NFL, the coaches suck, and then they get fired, and then they end up on another team. Like, look at the Packers, the guy that from the Packers, I can't think of his name now, won one Super Bowl, right? And then he went to the Cowboys, and he bounces around. The guy that got yelled at for yelling at refs at a high school boys basketball game that one year. Mike McCarthy, there's it. Okay, but in college, the coaches move because they're so good. So they leave this team that, like they possibly leave this team like River Falls and UWL that are set up to be fantastic. So you kind of, as a guy who takes over UWL, you're kind of in a better position in college than you would be in the NFL, probably.
That's right in this situation for sure. You said an NFL choose you're going to go try to fix a dying franchise or a poor team, and I've been really fortunate that the core and the skeleton of this program is in place and intact. It's just trying to build on it and improve it and see if we can't take it to a higher level.
So the next step here is you work up to fall season. Are you hardcore recruiting right now, or what have you been up to, and what are your plans here for the next couple of months?
So we've kind of closed up for the most part the class of 26. So that's the upcoming freshmen, and now we've already initiated and started the class of 27. And so those are juniors currently that will be seniors. So we're working through the process. So we have like 3,000 different names from Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa that we are evaluating as a staff, and then evaluating if they can play for our team and getting them getting our recruiting boards, if you would, right? Just like there's draft boards coming up for the NFL. We do that with all of our positions as well. So we're getting our recruiting boards all prepared and getting guys, those juniors on campus here in the spring. Then we have our unit, like UWL goes on spring break next week, and then we get back, we have spring ball. So we have 16 spring ball practice for over the next 5 weeks. So we're getting prepared for that as well. So that's basically 3 to 4 practices a week where we are now starting to implement our new culture, core values, new offenses, defenses. What we're trying to, it's a big developmental and growth period for our guys. So there's a lot going on. And now as a new head coach, I got meetings up the butt going everywhere. You can imagine people want to talk, and so there's a lot going on as well.
We got to wrap up here, but as the new coach, as the guy who has this storied history in college football, as a standout receiver, Are you going to just be like the old Houston Oilers, the run and shoot offense? Are you going to do anything drastic? Because football's just kind of moved into this. Most teams are great at passing, and that's what, like everyone kind of does the same thing. Does the new UWL coach have like a different strategy in mind?
I think there's going to be little changes, yeah. We have our offense coordinator still intact, Coach Yagi. He does a great job. I'm giving him some things I'd like to see, but really that's going to be his baby. I think we're going to see us be maybe a little more aggressive, going for things on fourth down, maybe playing with a little more tempo and things like that. And then defense will look different for sure. We have to adjust our defense to fit our personnel a little bit better. But as you said, there'll be some small tweaks and changes. But the
How is
most
the
part,
defense going to be different? You were the defensive coordinator. Shouldn't it be exactly how it was?
well, we got to change some things to fit our personnel. That we graduated 8 starters last year on defense, so we
Okay.
got some new looks and new faces. So if my coach philosophy and what we have to constantly do as a staff is make sure that you are fitting what you do schematically to your players. You're asking them to do what they do well, and not just saying, "Hey, this is my system." We try to plug and play players in those spots, even though they might not fit their strengths. So it's constantly adjusting to new players, new faces, new skill sets, all that kind of stuff. And then, like you said, as the game evolves and adapts, we're going to have to face teams like River Falls, to Platteville, the Whitewater, like they're completely different schematically. So your defense has to be a little bit more adjustable and adaptable.
All right, that's Michael Zweifel, the new UWL football coach. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.